Well, good morning, everybody. Morning, of course, spelled Mourning. Thanks for being here. Good morning, Phil. Good morning, Sharon. Good morning, Jar Manny. Good morning, TikTok people. Good morning, as we all kind of trickle in on a Wednesday morning that I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of different feelings about. Yes, I am still in my hotties, aka hose for Hong shirt from last night. We're gonna get through this. Hello, Mickey. We're gonna have a conversation. I feel like if you're newer to the program, uh this show always feels like a crescendo towards the election, and then I always try and recalibrate the day after the election because I know a lot of other people are definitely in their feelings right now. And we'll get there. I joked with a friend. I said, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to bring the smoke today. I'm feeling it right now. And she says, I bet you'll find the smoke. And I was like, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens the longer I talk. Yeah, I'm not taking the honk shirt off, TR. Um, it's one of those kind of mornings. Glad to see that you made it here as well. Obviously, you know what we're going to be talking about the bulk of the day, not just the governor's race, of course. There were a number of different races. I've been able to get a little bit of a feel of how the media is portraying what took place in Wisconsin. Um, we're going to talk a lot about the ballot races as well. And of course, as per usual, I'm counting on you guys to chime in and kind of carry this show today. Not just because I'm so hungover that I want to die, but because I feel like a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about what took place yesterday, both positive and negative. And we're going to be addressing a lot of that here over the course of the next. I'm posting a link in the YouTube chat, TR. So just hop on there. Like, you don't even need to schedule anything. Just freaking punch the link in, and it's just like talk radio. I take calls from anybody who wants to jump on here. We already have some people chiming in. Got a laugh about Mike Lindell wondering how he could have lost with Trump's endorsement and leading in the polls. Other thought, don't run for office with any social media baggage. Well, Sharon, who doesn't have social media baggage, especially anybody under 45? We've all said and done things that we aren't particularly thrilled with. AP Endeavors is wondering, is Thanksgiving safe? No. I actually think, in an effort to reach across the aisle, David Crowley should suggest an executive order that he's going to eliminate Thanksgiving if he wins, just to extend an olive branch. Because I don't know about you guys, but that was the main reason that I was voted for Francesca Hong. I don't know about anybody else. But that was my main attitude towards it. And hello, as people are trickling in across all platforms here. Thank you for being here. Let's hop on the Book of Faces. By the way, Book of Faces was more active than it's ever been since I started this independent endeavor last night. And I apologize. I had over 60 messages on my live yesterday. I was operating uh with less equipment than usual, so I had no means to really be hopping on Facebook, but I appreciate your interaction and interest in sticking with the live nevertheless. So I just need somebody to find about 4,000 votes. I've called the Secretary of State and I let her know we just need 4,000 votes is what I'm looking for. I was joking at the watch party yesterday. I said if Hong loses, that's going to be the beginning of my heel turn because I've been a baby face the whole time. For those of you who don't watch wrestling, baby faces are like the good guys in wrestling, and heels are the bad guys. And I've been a baby face most of my time in media. And I kind of wanted to switch to being a heel, and I was going to embrace election frogs for the next 4 years if she lost. That was the running bit. I don't think I have the guts to actually go through with that bit though, because it requires a certain level of stupidity to not accept the results. Um, yeah, I feel you, Canary. A lot of people are sad right now. I'm disappointed for sure. I'm not going to make the joke that I've been making in my private life quite a bit, but I'm very disappointed. It was the most excited I've been for an election in a while, and that's kind of going to be the theme, at least of the first part of this. Is that David Crowd? The conventional wisdom is you have to go trend to the center once you once you win your primary to convince the other side to come for you. And I think we might be seeing the genesis of a new type of politicking where it's after the primary, you got to make sure that the other people show up because they're going to do a sunshine and roses thing today at noon. And I'm here for it. Again, I wasn't posturing just because I was so confident that Francesca Hong was going to win. I wasn't posturing. I said any one of these Democratic candidates would have my vote on the other side of it. But I also recognize I posted a video. I got up very late today, relative to when I normally get up. And yeah, I feel you, Aaron. Um, and I posted a video about a half an hour before the show, and I already um have people commenting on the post that I have there, essentially saying, like, I don't wait, hold on. I'm not even gonna paraphrase it. Hold on, let me just pull it up. Well, first of all, Jar Manny was there saying she sent a video from Emily Cephos, which I might put the Cephos video up in a little bit just because I do think it was actually a pretty good thing to hear. Justin says there is no silver lining. We're fucked. Dana says this is all I can think. Um, I don't believe Crowley has any interest in getting the left on board. Um, I don't buy that. I think there's going to be an effort. I think they know that there was a lot of grassroots excitement surrounding what's happening, and I think you'll see more movement than you realize. Kay Bizzle, who I don't know if you've ever been here before, but he says if Crowley or she, sorry, I apologize, I don't know who you are. If Crowley changes his data center policy, I'll vote for him. If not, then good luck in November. Thank you for the follow. And that's essentially the exact attitude that I have towards the matter as well. Data centers are an 80-20 win. Don't you worry, Aaron. I'm coming out. Don't you worry. She's saying, why am I so positive right now? Where's my cynical king? Don't you worry. I'm getting there. I'm ramping up to something here. Just sit tight. Um, stand back and stand by, as it were. But exactly. Data centers are an 80-20 issue. And I think he's particularly weak on the matter right now. And I think there's a lot of people like Kay Bizzle on my TikTok feed who are in the same boat. And I think that's going to be a conversation that needs to be had. You know, Aaron, it's funny you asked that question. I was joking with our mutual friend Anna while we were at the watch party yesterday. And first of all, I started this all haphazardly. Shout out to the guy, my friends with Resistance Radio. We had an awesome live stream together there. It was very funny though. It was like I just watched the Spider-Man movie a couple weekends ago, and they have this, 20-something-year-old kid who's plucky and optimistic, and then there's the Punisher who's like uh super angry and down all the time. And our mutual my friend Anna even says to me, she's like, "You're such a curmudgeon," because the Resistance Radio guys were so optimistic all night, and like I started feeling a changing of the tides. And then Outside the Box Ben was coming out last night, and I don't know that the overarching audience was there for the outside the box attitude. And I was like, but I just have the one mode, you know what I mean? But to answer the people, because I see Jay feeling that way as well. Wait, tell him what to his face. Evers really sucks, says Blue Canary. I love the opportunity to tell him that to his face, says Jay. Well, I think that's what happened here, guys. I mean, the polling data always had Hong at around 40%. And she got 40%. It was that there was 17% undecided, and it seems as though the Evers endorsement carried a lot of weight with a lot of those undecideds. Like, I don't think the Thanksgiving thing was a huge deal. I think it was just a matter of when the people who don't necessarily stay informed about politics jumped on, started paying attention and saw how things played out. It's weird to us that Crowley dropped out and then came back in. If you started paying attention 3 weeks ago, a lot of that narrative is kind of lost on you. And like, I don't think we should be surprised by where she ended up. It was a matter of how many people ended up coalescing around Crowley. And like, I think the reason why I'm not the cynical person that I normally am is because like there were people there last night saying, I hated that the Dems did this and I hated that the Dems did that. And I said, that's just Democratic policy, or excuse me, that's just politics. Like, that's just what it is to win an election. You know what I mean? And in terms of a progressive populist candidate losing a primary, this is actually one of the lesser amounts of anger that I felt. I think a lot of people who worked with the campaign did a good job. I think a lot of headway was moved. A woman who literally identifies as a Democratic Socialist pulled in 40% of the vote in a purple state like Wisconsin. That's not nothing. And it feels shitty because the pre-primary polling was so in favor of Francesca Hong that this feels strange right now. But we even had a bit of a precursor with that in Michigan the week before. The polling said the same thing for El Sayed. And we will be talking later in the show about how the media is saying a 15,000 vote victory for El Sayed is means he needs to gravitate more towards the center, but a 3,000 vote win for Crowley means that it means the left is dead going forward. I find that hard to believe, but nevertheless, we'll talk more about that in time, but I think that leads a lot to it. I see I have a ton of comments piling up. A TR on TikTok wants to hop on. Hold on, let me fix the volume here a little bit before we get rolling. TR wants to hop on TikTok here. Go ahead. What's on your mind? Okay, something went wrong there. That's fine. I'd prefer you joined on YouTube anyway, if we're being honest. Let's see here. Last night's results make me want to bail on this hopeless state, says Justin. I'll be real with you, man. I get it. I get it, but it doesn't feel the same. And I'm not trying to patronize or anything like that. Wow, I'm so far behind. You guys are rolling here. Okay. I'm gonna try and catch up on these a little bit. It doesn't feel the same as like a Bernie aftermath or anything like that. It's disappointing because New York gets their Mamdani. Michigan gets their El Sayed, Denver gets their Ramos. Like, it really felt like it was just a bunch of dominoes falling in line and that we were going to get our thing. And unfortunately, we do not get to have nice things, at least not this time. The polls said Trump wouldn't get elected the first time. Polls are crap. Yeah, Carla, and somehow primary polls are worse. Ben, what you sissy outsiders don't understand about Wisconsin drinking is that we get up and get back at it the next day like nothing happened. I'm here, CKK. I might be in the same shirt I was wearing yesterday, but I'm here. All right. All right. Sissy's offensive. What's this? Black people only vote for centrist because, okay, so racists are in the chat today. That's fun. Greetings, neighbors. Oh, Jim, by the way, stopped by and said hello, and it was awesome getting to talk to him. I apologize I didn't get to talk to you more. TJ says there won't be a recount as she conceded this morning. Yeah, I saw that as well. It's a shame we didn't drag this out for 4 years like a bunch of morons. Unfortunately, Francesca Hong exhibited a bit of class and conceded a uniquely close race. There's still 12,000 votes left, says Justin. I think we're about done here. Yeah, we'll get to the down ballot races. What else do we have? I asked Crowley supporters why I should vote for him, and so far all I've gotten is he isn't Tiffany. That's not enough for me. I feel that. But I mean, again, that is going to be, and I see you, Garnet. We'll get you up in a second. That's a valid opinion to have. I am not here to vote. Like, Lord knows I am not a vote blue no matter who in normal cases, but I'm also not a hypocrite. And I said it yesterday, and I did say it. And I was joking with all of my friends at the watch party yesterday. I said it from a position of being so confident in the results in that primary. But I did say, I said it on the show yesterday, if Kelda comes out, even if Brennan came out, I was like, I trust any one of these candidates significantly more than Tiffany. It is my honest to God belief that the best way to fix this country is to make the Democratic Party the right flank of politics. Eliminate MAGA entirely, eliminate Republicans, and have centrists, have the David Crowley flank be right wing politics. And the only way that we can get there without actually having our people win is to get that flank in there, and then more importantly, keep the pressure on them to make sure that they deliver in ways that make sure that MAGA doesn't come back on the other side of these kind of things. We have Garnet waiting in the wings here. I'm going to pull her on up, see what she has to say about the outcome from last night here. What's happening? How are you?
Hey there. Let me see how I need to do with my volume here. There we go.
Yeah, you're fine. You sound
All
fine.
right. Hi, folks. I'm a little hoarse from being in a bar and yelling and everything all night. So, um,
Yeah.
but when I say like don't ever watch results alone, like I think that this is like really critical. Because I think it's important to have places to have conversations, and especially the next morning, right? So anyway, I appreciate you talking about this this morning on your show, and yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of share a little bit of like where I am at as, DSA co-chair for the region. Um, obviously, like I was a big part of this space, but also, all these people that I have brought into organizing for the first time in their lives, people that have never touched politics before, that were able to, um, really connect with the candidate for the first time. And I think that that's the part that we can't lose. I think that's the part that we have to be able to turn that energy into organizing, regardless of if it's organizing for a political campaign for a particular seat or if it's organizing for politics in general. And so I think that that's something that we have to remember, that like electoral seats definitely count and they matter, but it's also really critical that we continue to work on issues and do what we can to ensure that when good policy is introduced, that it actually goes someplace.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to remember, and I even, because I'm falling behind on my YouTube chat here a little bit, but I'm always cognizant of when you're wired like someone in the DSA, or when you're wired the way outside the box is. I mean, I always say it's easy to be critical of your party when the Democrats right now have no power. I said it's very difficult to have a talk show highlighting the failures of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris 4 months before an election when you know that the other candidate is significantly worse. And even in my chat right now, there's people here for the first time, which I welcome all new users to Outside the Box. But we got people dropping the R slur in my chat now. We got people highlighting, like essentially trying to drive a wedge and stoke fear and anger and hatred in what took place last night. And as someone, I'm 38 years old. I watched the Democrats fuck over Bernie twice. I watched them skip the primary. None of that was happening. Evers throwing his weight behind a candidate who dropped out sucks, but that's not it's I don't feel like there was subterfuge. I don't feel like it was two competing ideas, and unfortunately, the majority of Democratic voters in Wisconsin, unfortunately from my perspective, believed that this was the best path forward. It was a competition of ideas, and a socialist got 40% of the vote. So like I'm not a fan of moral victories. I'm not a fan of warm fuzzies. Like a win is a win and a loss is a loss. But I mean, a lot of work was put in and a lot of good things happened. And I don't think it ends here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. One of the things that I ran for county board as a very out and proud queer person and a socialist in Brown County a couple years ago. And at the end of the day, 43% of people in my little sliver of Green Bay, Wisconsin, were willing to vote for a blatantly socialist candidate. And that's also what we're seeing here with Francesca Hong, right? The thing that we can take away is that we have 300,000 plus people that are willing to vote for a socialist candidate. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something to definitely recognize. I think there's a lot of lessons learned in this campaign about, um, you know, what to do with disinformation. I feel like we really failed to like handle the disinformation.
In 2026, if you're buying disinformation, you don't want the real information. Like I realize that's not an attitude you guys can take, but in my world, it's like it's out there. Like if you want to believe Haitians are eating cats and dogs, no amount of studies that I show you is going to tell you that they're not eating the cats and dogs. So like there comes a time when I'm just like, well, make your bed and lie in it, and I'll just do my thing without you guys. That's fine. So
Yeah, no,
it's a
I
matter.
mean, that's fair. That's fair. But I also feel like and some of it wasn't even necessarily disinformation, but you know, I feel like we let people focus on things like Thanksgiving and um there was a lot of people saying that like, oh, there's a video of Hong campaigners harassing Crowley campaigners. And like that's not real. That
No,
doesn't
it's
exist. People were just
true.
saying it. And so I think that there is some amount of um pieces where I truly do think that like we can handle things better in the future. And I mean this is a huge margin for us for of like what we've gained as like leftists and leftist candidates in Wisconsin, and I truly do believe that this was a really amazing way for us to see like as a structure test of what we can do at the state level
Yeah.
as leftists. So I think that there's a lot of things we can learn, and I think we're probably going to be postmorteming this for a while. But
Yeah, I'm interested to see the demographics, but I appreciate you hopping on here. Good stuff last night, and I'll be in touch. We'll talk soon.
absolutely.
All right. Well, bye. Yeah, exactly. And so I see a lot of people. I do have to say, Justin, I see you there saying it feels like Bernie and Hillary and Biden all over again. I personally disagree. This feels like a loss. Take it from somebody who played men's volleyball for 4 years in high school and maybe won 8 matches across those 4 years. Losing sucks. Um, but it's not always because the refs cheated or the other team cheated or anything like that. Sometimes it's just you measure up ideas, and Wisconsin's just not ready yet, unfortunately. Um, I'll be honest, I think we're seeing the final shades of it. I think it's the equivalent of Thomas Massey losing. You know what I mean? Not anybody, because plenty of boomers were reaching out to me over the course of the last 24 hours to let me know they voted for Hong, which was awesome. I am excited to see what the demographics look like overall. Uh, it's worth noting how historic it is for a candidate to drop out, then come back into the race and win. It's pretty crazy. I agree. The Fox Valley went for Hong. Ben, you were a part of that. No, I appreciate that. I did see Outagamie County went like uniquely for Francesca Hong. I actually made a joke about that on the show last night. I'm like, oh, well, I think we figure out why I was fired. And you know what? We're only going to be getting louder on this show now that we do not have antiquated communications technology dragging us down. And again, I see someone else here. What's this? Dane. Oh, Dane saying Roy's spoiled the election. Oh, it's Dane for Hong, just like Katie Porter did for Steyer and Callie. I don't know, man. I don't think it's a guarantee that all the Kelda voters would have gone for Hong second. I think Kelda filled a unique lane that she was perceived as both not centrist enough for centrists and not progressive enough for progressives. And the idea that her not being in the race would have been 60,000 votes in one way, I just don't buy that. I just don't buy that. I feel like that I refuse to have sour grapes about this. It's just a loss. It's a shitty loss. It's a shitty loss when your team was being told for the last 3 months that you were the favorites. Like, that's what sucks. It's when you go in a 2-touchdown favorite and you lose by 3 points and you're like, it shouldn't have even been that fucking close. Like, that's what a lot of people are struggling with right now. What sucks is a lot of DSA people don't really watch a lot of sports. So that analogy might not have hit well with everybody, but I get it. And now it's on Crowley, though. Now the moment is on Crowley and the Democratic establishment. The people who said it, to the people, to the point of the people in the chat right now, it is going to be more than vote blue no matter who for a lot of people. You're going to have to come across. Thanks, Robin. I can't make that joke. TikTok is going to ban me if I make that joke, but I see what you're saying, gamer, and that's funny. I can't say any of that stuff. But it's on, as Canary calls them, it's on the Reaganist Democrats. You have to come across now. Like, not any Bush League answers for these questions. How are we expanding Badger Care? What is your actual agenda surrounding data centers? How are you differentiating yourself between yourself and Tom Tiffany? Because this is what's lost. And here, I'm actually going to pull, you guys know, you obviously have to take these kind of sites with a grain of salt, obviously. But if you guys haven't seen my social post from this morning, this is what the odds for the Democratic candidate looked like. They dropped from about 60-40 in favor of Tiffany the night before the election to 78 to 19% in favor of David Crowley taking the race. It's going to be a matter of, are they reading their own press clippings or not? Are they going to try and reach out to the left, to the grassroots movement that carried a lot of what Francesca Hong was doing, over 7,000 different volunteers? Are they going to reach out to them, or are they going to reach out to the centrists? And depending on which way that ultimately ends up going, I think is going to determine a lot of the rhetoric for the next 3 months. But if you can't articulate a plan about data centers, not some vagaries, because the fact of the matter is, and I said this yesterday as well, when Kamala Harris entered the race and got $1.5 billion primarily from billionaires, I could not, you'd go on my airwaves and be like, don't vote for Donald Trump because he's taking money from billionaires, because obviously that exact same logic could be applied to the Democrats. So now that's a fallacy. You can no longer use that for your purposes. David Crowley is taking corporate money. So now when Tom Tiffany's campaign is funded by 3 billionaires, you lose the talking point about corporate dollars. When Tom Tiffany's campaign is running on, we need data centers, but not on farmland. It doesn't matter that the farmland thing is just a red herring. It's not like David Crowley is anti-data center. So it's not like you can go up to people and say, and that's why you don't want to vote for Tom Tiffany. You've completely changed the calculus of this race by nominating a centrist. And if the centrist does not come through in ways that differentiates themselves from right wingers, and some of you inevitably are going to say, well, at least he doesn't deny the election. Okay, great. Nobody gives a shit. It's 2026. If you don't give a shit by 2026, you're not going to give a shit. So you got to differentiate yourself in a way that has nothing to do with Donald Trump. And I don't know that he is doing that yet. There's time. There's absolutely time. To the people who were energized by Fran, please don't check out. We desperately need to stay engaged. If we want to change the party over time, we really need to play the long game. I would agree with that. Wow, you guys are firing on all. It's physically impossible for me to keep up with you guys today, so don't take it personally if I don't read what you're saying. I see KG saying the sports analogy is spot on. Jonathan LaFontaine, welcome back. Hard, Wisconsin has Republican-controlled legislature. Are you leaving that out because you're slow? No. Why am I leaving that out? I actually have said the opposite throughout my tenure here. That the reason statewide Wisconsin Dems have escaped my ire is because they basically haven't been able to do anything for the entire time that I've lived in Wisconsin. They've been operating against borderline supermajorities within the Republican Party. I said, heaven help them, though, the second they finally get power, because if they don't make plays with it, well, we're going to have words about it. Crowley is in the same position as Walker when he was one county exec, not mayor, but county. Milwaukee County is doing much better on a whole than the city proper. It's a lot for him to run on. I agree. And his statistics surrounding his homeless numbers, I think, can't be avoided either. Justin says I'm writing in Hong in November. That's fair. Benza says, I don't think many, if any, Republicans voted Crowley, but I do think a lot of geriatrics flipped on Crowley on electability propaganda. Absolutely. It was the Evers endorsement and the electability arguments. Those two are the two things that sank. And electability is bullshit, by the way. I am not paying lip service to the electability arguments. I think they're bullshit. But those are the two things that flipped, and in all likelihood, it probably did flip a certain generation, more so than any of the other ones. Because again, I keep going back to the Thomas Massey comparison. You look under 45, and people saw right through the propaganda. It was 45 and over that were nervous about, Thomas Massey being an anti-Semite or whatever the hell the claims were at the time. I'm gonna make you feel better, Jarvani. Bear with me. I'm trying to keep up with everything right now. Big money backing the Republican light candidate was a surprise. Oh, I mean, it's always the case. The Evers endorsement was a total betrayal. Dude's a snake. He pledged not to do an endorsement. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not one for censoring speech, but if people are gonna start throwing the R slur around in the chat, you're getting the fuck out of here. So play with fire, get burned. There's your only warning. Electability is coded with racism and sexism as well as Red Scare. Yeah, I agree. I hope this loss doesn't stop young voters to sit out the general election. Yeah, I was saying it was rigged the whole time, but I can't say that because TikTok will freaking ban me. That's what's so frustrating is I'd love to be more sarcastic about this stuff, but I can't because any sarcasm you do about elections and TikTok acts like a bastard. So I have to kind of play this one a bit more straight. But to pivot into at least a little bit of good stuff here, Carla, who's a regular on the show, put a lot of time into working with Rick Crossan running for the 8th District, and he ended up coming away with a victory over Mark Scheffler and Katrina DeVille, who also both ran fantastic campaigns. I liked all three of them. Yes, that's the word I'm talking about, Jar Manny. But Rick Crossan coming away with it. I do not live in the 8th District. I live in the 6th District, so I didn't have an opportunity to vote in there, but I really did like the way that Rick answered a lot of the questions that he had out there, which was pretty exciting. I think he can give Tony Weed a run for his money here. And realistically, 2/3 of the vote in the 8th District Democrats went to a black guy and a trans woman. Lord knows, I am not an identity politics guy, but I also know that there's a very real issue with that kind of stuff, especially in that part of the state. And the fact that they did as well as they did really shows you a changing there. And I have a feeling that you're going to see a pretty good push coming out of the 8th District to unseat Tony Weed. In the 7th District, I actually haven't seen an update, but just to have a little bit of fun, maybe this will lighten everybody up a little bit. Let's have a little bit of fun here, okay? This is the Republican candidate. I don't even remember his name anymore. Alfonso. and his father-in-law is Sean Duffy, who is part of the Trump administration. Alfonso was on News Nation and he was being interviewed, but he was so scared that he had to bring his father-in-law on him in case he got asked one of the really tough questions. Listen to this. And like, this is what the Republicans are running. You know what I mean?
Because critics will say the reason that you seem to be a shoo-in for this race is because of the man next to you, Secretary Duffy, and also his relationship with the president and his endorsement. Michael, I'll start with your reaction to that, and then Secretary Duffy, I'll ask you the same.
Look, I'm not going to apologize for marrying my middle school sweetheart. I grew up in this district my whole life. I've been working full-time, almost full-time in the summer since I was 14 years old. And I will tell you what, in this race, I'm going to talk about the things that really matter to the voters. I'm the hardest working one. I put 60,000 miles on my car in 9 months, and I'm going to represent the people of the 7th the same way I have worked on the campaign trail as the hardest working one in the race.
Oh, he's adorable. He's adorable. Just wait till he hits puberty. It's going to be ugly. That's who the Republicans are putting up in the 7th district. Anyway, that's who the Republicans are putting up in the 7th district. In the 6th district, the race is still too close to call between Brad Smith and Amanda Bell, but that one will most certainly be very interesting to watch kind of come through there. Nick says he mostly talked about himself, nothing about issues. Welcome to Republican politics, right? Yeah, it's a Nepo baby. Absolutely. There's a lot of good things happening. Grace Abbott's in the 56th Assembly District coming away with a victory over Shauna Riley, both of which were on this program. And I thought both of those candidates presented very well, at least when they were on this show, and they had some interesting insights. It's going to be a long November, and there's 3 months for people to convince you. I'm telling you right now, the Crowley campaign needs to be in his ear every day, telling him, work on your data center proposal. That is going to be where they bridge the gap with this, or don't, to be perfectly frank. Oh, Jarmani, I meant the right R slur. You got confused. I'm not going to double back here because there's too many comments. I just need to punt on the chat sometimes. Progressive support women's right. Okay, yeah, all right, good. Sit down. Anyway, you know what? I'm not going to bother. So as you can see, based on at least the early polling data, with a centrist, it could be the mainstream media trying to push a narrative, but it most certainly does appear as though that the odds are very much in the Democratic Party's favor. Sorry, I'm operating at like 70% capacity today. I'm sure you guys understand. It didn't help that Hong can't talk. She whispers, stammers, loses her train of thought, etc. Would have been nice if we had someone like El Sayed who, I mean, I guess it really does depend on the person. I don't care about delivery. I don't care about age. I don't care about identity. I don't care about any of that kind of stuff. I care about the ideas. And Francesca Hong's ideas were better than anybody else's running. I also recognize that I am not the norm when it comes to processing that kind of information. And I don't know how much that actually impacted things. I'm telling you, I feel like you're just being a bit of a dickhead, like when you're saying these things. But if you're being sincere, if you had been at the rallies, if you had been at the events that I have been going to around the state of Wisconsin, I don't think anybody cared about how she talked. You know what I mean? It's going to fundamentally, I think we're going to see the demographic breakdowns, and we are going to see Black people in the city of Milwaukee for a number of reasons. It seems as though conventional wisdom is if you are represented by David Crowley, you actually like him quite a bit. And then, of course, as I've highlighted before, I haven't had the issue of identifying with the bulk of politicians, right? Whereas the Black community tends to gravitate more towards somebody who looks like them to guarantee, not always, but to kind of ensure that there's representation of their population of people. And so that's not out of question there. And then it's just going to be a matter of what percentage of boomers fell for the Evers endorsement. Right? It's harder for a woman if she looks too tough, then she becomes a bitch. You're not wrong with that either. My sister and mother-in-law apparently voted Crowley because Hong isn't good at messaging. Man. I mean, I joke about it all the time, but a lot of truth is said in jest. Democracy is great and shitty for the same reason. People that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, their vote counts just as much as mine does, which is awesome and terrible at the same time. I'm late to the pity party, says Kristen. Yeah. Now we're doing all right. We're doing all right. This reminds me, like I'm doing a show with a very similar temperament to the day after Donald Trump won the election, because I know a lot of people are sad and scared, and so I'm trying to remain cool. And it also helps that, like, I still didn't fall asleep when I got home for a while yet. Even I just, you're all jazzed up on a Tuesday, nevertheless. Where are you talking about, Ace Vault? Random simulation blue would win where? Oh, whoops. There we go. All right, let's look at what's happening here on the Book of Faces. Guess the Republicans didn't crossover vote for Hong. I think they might have crossover voted for Crowley. Wisconsin Dems never cease to fail me, becoming a progressive cow pie. Data centers and voucher schools, says Kim. 40% of us don't suck, but now we need to beat Tiffany. Yes, political education is critical. That's an understatement. It's definitely a lesson in examining one's digital tail print. I don't think Hong's good ideas made it to the media events that older voters tune into, only the electability and Thanksgiving. Maybe. Cheryl says too many were thinking that Crowley was the best one to beat the GOP in the primaries, since unfortunately Hong's comments would be held against her, and jumping all over her due to that. We can't have Tiffany. She wanted to get rid of prisons, says a clueless person. Too many of us boomers felt burned after we voted for Kamala. No, I feel that. I feel that. And by the way, while we're talking about the stupidity of the prison comments here really quickly, allow me to bring up another statistic. Let me just make sure I have it available here. Yeah, perfect. Okay. See, and maybe it is about messaging. Maybe there is something to be said about messaging here. And TikTok, I'm going to bring you along for the ride on this one here, just so you can see what we're looking at. There we go. Oh yeah, no, up here. Perfect. So that's the percentage of people that how they want to address lowering the U.S. crime rate. The green one up above that oscillates between basically 60 dropping to 50 and ultimately ending up at 67%. That's address and attack social problems. The 30% and 29% numbers, that strengthen, increase law enforcement. So when people talk about how to address crime, it's the way we talk about it on this show. Got to steal to eat, got to eat to live. That's how we get along. People want to make sure that the causes of crime are addressed and that we are not over policing, over criminalizing, and over enforcing these laws in some kind of over the top way. And yet you're going to have people that no matter how much you scream it to the contrary are going to come out there and say, she wants to eliminate prisons. And you need to be able to articulate exactly what you mean when you are talking about reforming prison, reforming the police, reforming jailing, reforming rehabilitation, reforming all of these things. You need to be able to articulate that. And yeah, especially in the aftermath of George Floyd, I think a lot of millennial candidates at some point in 2020 are going to have a defund the police tweet floating out there in the ether, especially if you are on the left. And it's going to be on voters to not be morons. Unfortunately, that was not the case in 2026, but hopefully we can grow from this and move on going forward. Oh, yeah, 7th District, that little Nepo baby ran away with it. Okay, so bail reform, prison reform is really needed. Well, yeah, well, we're not going to be getting that anymore. No, exactly. Their votes count for whatever. But in any event, let me minimize this back down. Let me get this shit back off the screen. Pretty disappointing outcome, but I'm not letting it take the wind out of my sails just yet. Like I said, probably the most disappointing loss in 10 years. For me, personally. Or not even I guess, yeah, loss, because it was a matter of peaks and valleys, right? I was so excited about what it was that we were seeing, while at the same time not necessarily or being excited about what we're seeing and then being disappointed by the outcome. It's just a very high and then a very low. And I was so certain, because it really feels like the centrist corporate elitist candidates, like, their time is almost up, and maybe we're headed towards a future where he represents the new right. We're going to have to see what happens. I think he's going to beat the shit out of Tom Tiffany, to be perfectly frank, and I think it's going to be more of a matter of not allowing the center to create a narrative around the fact that you have to moderate in order to win. I think that's probably the most important point there. Establishment gonna establish, boomers gonna boom. I feel that. What's up, Violet? And anybody that wants to chime in, I've been posting this, but if anybody wants to get their voice heard on the stream today, all you got to do is punch that link into your chat. And you can say things like, if Jonathan grew a sack, he could hop on the show and defend it. Unless, of course, you're too busy. You just want to rifle off 400 comments while I'm doing this. There's the link for you, Cheech. Hop on the show. Oh, hold on. Cool. Hold on 1 second. All right, Emily Cephos is going to come on the show at 10:30, because that's how I operate. Violet, I'm okay. We're growing. We're moving along here. The people in Wrightstown only data center NIMBYs. They aren't anti-data center in that proportion. Well, you know what's funny about that, CKK, is the data center referendum in Wrightstown went 90-10, at least the most recently I saw it. It was 900 votes to 100 votes. But then there would be people with no data center signs, and they would be next to Tom Tiffany signs. And it just shows such a fundamental lack of understanding of the politics, the nature of the politics, that is remarkable. Seeing as Emily has agreed to come on the show, it now makes more sense for me to play the video that I was sent. So bear with me here. Oh, who's jumping on here? Oh, we got Jonathan LaFontaine. Wonderful. What's on your mind, man? Oh, you got to turn the volume down and get an echo.
I don't know if I can hear you.
What's on your mind?
Oh, you gotta turn the volume again. I gotta mute you. So I don't know if you can hear me, but you got an echo where I can hear myself. I'm gonna unmute you now to see if it went away. Hello? Okay, the echo's gone. Can you hear me?
I've never been live before.
No worries. I can hear you. Can you not hear me?
I just want to show my face. I don't know if you can hear me. But
I can see your face and I can hear you. There we go. Let's try this again. Oh, nope, he left that time. All right. I know people in Wrightstown who build data centers. They just don't want to live next to one. Well, that kind of gives the whole game away, though, does it not? You know what I mean? Like, if it's good enough for thee, but not for me, then it's probably not good enough. And I think that's probably a point of frustration. But so since and I give Jonathan at least effort for trying to figure it out, but unfortunately, it looks as though we struggled with things there. Allow me to let me get this up and running here first. Hold on. So Crowley and Hong are going to be running together. I just was sent a thing. Where did you send me the Cephos one? Oh, there it is. No, that's not it at all. I don't remember where I got the Emily Cephos thing from this morning, and I don't remember. If anybody listening is the person who sent me the Emily Cephos video, can you please send me another one again? That would help out quite a bit. Thank you. But she had some pretty good words, or maybe if I just search her, I can find it. Hold on, bear with me here. I apologize, guys. I thought I had it. That sounded like somebody sent me a message, though. Oh, okay. Is that who did it? Okay. Okay. It's a little bit longer, and she's going to be on the program in a half an hour for anybody that can't stick around. But I'll play this for you now, and TikTok, you guys can listen to it, and we'll go from there. But give this a listen. LOL. Hold on, let me unmute it first. How's that sound for everybody? Okay, so this is pretty funny, but I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot, and I didn't do the right thing. I don't know why you guys listen to this show sometimes. Hold on. We're gonna pretend like this is a professional operation again, shall we? Shebang. And there she is. Welcome to the party. I apologize to TikTok peeps. You're gonna have to listen to 55 seconds again. Cancel me if you like, but you're not going to be able to stop me, you know. Let's try this again, shall we? Let me reorganize it, put me in the bottom left because that's the most aesthetically pleasing. Here we go.
Good morning, Wisconsin. That was quite a night. I have been thinking this morning a lot about the people that might not have seen their candidate get through past primary. And I know some of you are really disappointed. A lot of people put a lot into this. knocking doors, phone calls, donating, talking to friends, being more activated than you might have ever been before. But all that was because you believed in something. And I don't think any of that was for nothing. Speaking plainly, Fran is my friend. I really appreciate her. She's bold and courageous and willing to say things out loud that a lot of people have been taught not to say, especially in politics. And she changed the conversation in this race. People across Wisconsin have been talking about systemically changing things like healthcare and housing and childcare and workers and what corporate power looks like. We have been asking each other whether incremental change is enough, especially for those people that are struggling right now. Campaign, the movement that was built, put those ideas in front of people that might not have heard them otherwise. And that is a good thing, because that is how public opinion changes. I think that, too, I understand some of the tension here because I feel like I straddle two worlds sometimes. I'm a county party chair. I am part of the Democratic Party establishment. I'm part of the machine, whether I particularly like that word or not. But I also have come to know and appreciate smaller organizing and activist communities that push this party to be better in a two-party system that I've said before sucks. They're often willing to talk about things before it's politically comfortable to talk about them. And I've learned from them. I understand why incremental change doesn't feel like enough, why it's not enough. But if we want the establishment to stop looking like the establishment, we have to change what people believe is possible. That is the work. The work is organizing and talking to people and introducing ideas that might sound radical at first because it simply questions the way that we've always done it. Because too often we get stuck in like, it's always been this way, so it has to exist in this capacity. Things like healthcare being a human right. Things like fully funded public schools and local governments, depending on the day. Things like freedom of religion and expression, all of the things that we thought were part of the Constitution. Fran's campaign moved some things, so please don't look at the results of one election and decide that that work was for nothing. Now, here's where some people are going to bring in the blue no matter who kind of thing, and I've never really liked that phrase. It can feel like, thanks for your passion, your person lost, I fall in line. That is not what I'm asking you to do. I am asking you to stay in it. Take the time you need, but tuning out has consequences too. I don't know if you saw this part of Fran's speech last night.
You did it because you truly care for the people of this state and you care about our shared future. We have built a beautiful, multi-generational, multi-partisan, multiracial working class movement.
Y'all built a movement, but tuning out can mean that Tom Tiffany becomes governor. That is not some abstract political loss for people. There are real consequences and people that are going to live with those consequences. The same people that so many of you have spent your whole lives fighting for. So again, I'm not putting a timeline on dealing with the disappointment that a lot of people are feeling. But I know a lot of you are activated and I know how much you care about these communities. And I hope when you're ready, the question is, what can I do to help build that firewall through electoral politics and then keep it building something bigger behind it? We can do both. We can elect David Crowley and push David Crowley. We can participate in the Democratic Party and push it. We can protect people right now through electing the people that are willing to have that conversation and continuing to demand systemic change. That's basically my relationship with the party. I get frustrated with it. I question it. I push it. I get loud. But I don't do it because I hate the Democratic Party. I do it because I love the ideals of it enough to work to change it. Same thing with this country. So be disappointed, be pissed if you need, take a minute, and then look around at what you guys have built. The people aren't gone. The conversations and values you've shared aren't gone. Those ideas aren't gone. Y'all changed the conversation. Now we have to keep changing it. Push David Crowley, push the Democratic Party, push me. If we want the establishment to look different someday, we can't wait for the establishment to change itself. That'll never happen. We have to change the political ground underneath it. That's what movements do. It's really muggy out, but I hope you...
I agree with a lot of that outside of I do hate the Democratic Party and I criticize it because I hate it. I just hate the Republican Party more, but I feel that. And Jar Manny says the number one job after David gets elected is to push him. I agree. And I mean, it's going to be viewed as not enough in the eyes of a lot of people, but that has to be the way that we operate going forward. Sharon says, I'm sure the people who do these calculations to make winner projections have done all the math. If you look at the Wisconsin map, there's far more dark blue than light blue of votes to count. Okay, interesting. Mark says, I feel like we basically lost to Tiffany last night. Even if Crowley adopted every one of Hong's policies, I don't believe he would follow through and do anything to protect us. I mean, and that's where the community element of this stuff exists, right? I've been going to the flock meetings. I've been going to the data center meetings. You know, you go to the protests, you engage in this stuff, and you get your voice heard. It's not that different than what happened. It sucks not having somebody at the top to make these kinds of things happen. That's going to make it more difficult. Basically, what Hong's loss did to anybody who actually cares about your privacy, your security, your freedoms, all of the things that you felt like she represented better than what the establishment style candidates represented, what that means for you is that you still have to stay on the front lines now. You still have to go and do these things. I played I was sharing pictures that were sent to me by a listener last week who was highlighting oh god, where was it? In Wapaka, the data center meeting that was at 9 a.m. on a Thursday in Wapaka, a 2-to-1 Trump district, and hundreds of people showed up at 9 a.m., so many that they had to reschedule what happened. And you know what? When they get a date for when that's going to happen, and I'm going to be speaking to a data center person off the air tomorrow. We're going to see if we can't work out something with her to get her on the show. But when that meeting gets rescheduled, you show up again. And if they try and pull some kind of bullshit there, you show up again and you keep showing up. I went to my 4th flock meeting 2 weeks ago. And when the meeting ended, the older people that were sitting up front said, I'm sure we'll see most of you at the next meeting, because we have established that we're going to keep showing up until you give us the concessions that we are looking for. We are not going to allow this to slide under the radar. It's the same principle with the governorship. It just needs to happen on the statewide level. So it sucks that we have to do more shit, but anything worth having is worth doing. And so that's the best we can do for right now. And you know what? I remember I moved out to Wisconsin during the last governor's race. A lot of shit happened between that governor's race and this governor's race. And at the same time, it felt like it was a blink of an eye. Before you know it, we're going to be in this position again. And you know what? I'm a pretty firm believer that by 2030, there's going to be a whole hell of a lot more momentum behind a lot of progressive and out there and beyond incremental change than is out there today. Believe you me, I would much rather just completely switch the entire system that we operate in. Unfortunately, I know that that's not the way that life works, and we're going to have to make this shit happen. But I think if 10 months ago, I'm telling you, I wish I recorded myself when it was announced that Francesca Hong was going to be in the race. I would have said, oh, that's cute. You know? Oh, that'll be a fun little thing to follow along with for the first couple of weeks. And now here we are. The only reason the disappointment exists is because people felt so nervous. They felt so excited. And the only way you get disappointed is when there's something to be disappointed about. Not to be sappy, but it's real. Better to love and lose than never to lose at all. To love it all, right? Do you know, based on Crowley's policies, if he's pro-flock camera data center? He's trying to find ways to work with data center companies. And I'm telling you, I'm going to bring him on the show for the general. And this is when outside the box becomes touch and go. Because, like, I'm going to have to hammer him on it. And at the same time, you know, Tom Tiffany's probably just not going to agree to come on the show. So do you make him look like a piece of shit, knowing that the Republicans are just going to hide in their hole and not worry about it, and then hope that enough people think Crowley wants to eliminate prisons or whatever dumb shit they'll be talking about at the time? Or like, where are we at on that? You know what I mean? So, like, we'll see what happens, but we'll get him on. But you have to speak up. Exactly. And, like, he's going to talk about the economic investment, and every single one of you listening to this show knows that there's very little economic benefit for the communities where these things are built once they are built. Aaron says she loves when I hammer the Dems. That's how we met. Was you listening to me hammer the Dems? I believe the fact that we were in such a close margin that the establishment has to take our voice into consideration. That's my attitude. That's what I believe. You can't win without the progressive left. It's just a matter of how many people are going to come on board. Then we better start organizing momentum against data centers so the establishment knows that the people stand against them united. Absolutely. Yes, you need to be president. The status quo counts on our short attention spans. Yeah, oh, persistent. Sorry, Freudian slip. Make Crowley and his base own this, says Carla. I would agree. That's going to be the long run here. Thank you for posting the link, Allie, and please do subscribe. I feel like there have been some new people in the chat today. Consider subscribing to the page. We're at 835. We need 165 more subscribers to monetize this, John. We're almost there, so pushing more and more every day. It's wild how crazy this chat was this morning. I'd be able to adapt to that better. I couldn't keep up. Thanks for being here, Nick. I appreciate you hanging out for this hour. It's gonna be a long general election season now, but there's an opportunity to really inspire some people. We'll see if it happens. Republicans' whole MO is bribing you with short-term economic benefit that'll fuck you unless there's a way you don't end up tying it to them. Absolutely. It's the way that the GOP blamed Obama for the housing crash when he was in office for 6 or 7 months. Like, the way we handled the aftermath of the housing crash is on Obama, but the housing crash itself was brought about by piss-poor Republican leadership, and yet they bank on the goldfish memory of their voters, and it absolutely will work. That's the most frustrating part, is it will work. Unless you tie it to them, and again, I'm not sure that establishment Dems are interested in shaking free of that narrative. Well, yeah, I see what Tisha's saying. What do we do to push for what we want if Crowley wins? What do we do to push for what we want if Tiffany wins? Exactly. If Tiffany wins, he doesn't give a shit what we want. You know? I'm surprised you've been up doing this after the long night. I'm hanging in there. CKK mocked me, and that gave me the pep in my step that I needed. CNN is all over the Wisconsin race, says Ranthony. See, and here's the thing with that. The media, and I caught a little bit this morning. I didn't watch a lot, but they are talking the exact opposite about this race than they did for the Michigan race. El Sayed won by 15,000 votes, and they were like, you know what? Based on how close it was, it looks like you're going to have to moderate quite a bit in order to get your in order to win this election here. Whereas in Wisconsin, Hong loses by 3,000 votes, and the media is like, well, I guess that means the progressive politics aren't very popular. The center's back, the establishment's back, and we're not going anywhere, baby. And here we are. Aaron, the intern, popped on the TikTok to get some thoughts out there really quickly. What's on your mind, Aaron? Did you butt dial me, Aaron?
Oh, I definitely butt dialed you.
Wonderful. How are you? How are you feeling about the primary?
You know, I'm not the happiest camper. I think, and me and you spoke about this, but I truly think I'm surrounded by Hong supporters, so I thought that there was more support for her than there probably actually was. So I was very, very surprised by this election, but I guess the more I think about it, the more I'm like not surprised. I guess I'm just hoping that Crowley is willing to hear the left out and like, you know, not exactly, I mean, I don't expect him to like adopt the policies, but at least like hear us out and like make some headway, because otherwise, like, I straight up don't feel represented by him at this point. So I hope that he makes some changes. You know what I mean?
Sure. You say you hope he does it. Do you think he does it?
I don't know if I think he will, because I don't have a lot of faith in the establishment Democrats right now for, you know, making changes that are good for us. I'm not wording this very well. I'm sorry. I just got back from the grocery store, but I don't think he will, but I hope he will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. I hope you're right. I don't know if I believe it. I'll believe it when I see it, but I want to believe it. So
That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I truly do want to see the good. I just feel like I can't trust him at this moment in time. But I hope he proves me wrong. Like, I hope he, you know, you know what I mean?
Sure. It can happen. I don't know if it'll happen, but it can happen, which is all that matters. Thanks for accidentally chiming in. We'll talk soon. Yeah, we'll talk soon. Yeah, bye. A lot of people agreeing with what's going on there for Aaron. Every day is an appropriate day for THC. I feel that, Canary. I feel where you're at there. Why? Oh no, Moondog. Are you just finding out what happened? Condolences from New York City. I appreciate that, bud. You guys get your mom, Donnie. We get a handful of hope and a handful of shit, you know? Which basically is just a handful of shit. If you think about it. Oh boy. Hungover shows are interesting. I'll be honest. When I was on that little radio station, I very rarely ever came to work after a night like this. This has been an experience trying to keep my thoughts in order. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of stories outside of it, but you guys are doing a lot to carry the show. So keep on sending your comments and videos. We're going to make this happen today. We'll get back into it tomorrow. Walker changed Wisconsin politics. We used to be so progressive. I think we still are progressive, Revenant. And it was good seeing you last night. Always a pleasure. You were awesome on the show yesterday. It's still there. 40% of the freaking party voted that way. And there were a lot of MAGAs that would have voted for her. Yeah. Understood, Fergus. He says not to wear white t-shirts anymore. It's too hard to read the TikTok chat, which I get. The analysis, Moondog, I don't think there is an analysis yet. We need to see demographics. I just think it was a matter of putting ideas out there, and people decided what ideas they wanted to vote for. And it just so happens that it wasn't the ideas that I thought made the most sense. I will say, anybody that was in listening radius of outside the box, that vote trended in the appropriate direction. And I still, mark my words, am making ending data centers in Wisconsin a personal mission of mine for the foreseeable future, because I do believe that that had something to do with a certain firing of a beloved individual. Kristen says, I hate how Hong's tweets were an issue, but Dirk McGurk's weren't. Interesting how that works out, but unfortunately, that seems to be the way it played out. You feel something familiar with 2015 and 2019? I don't know. I mean, it's clear, and it happens every time a progressive is at the top of the polling. Right wing and liberal media coalesce to shit talk them. But again, that's just politics. That there's nothing you can do about. Nothing you can do about it. You know what's interesting? You know what stuck out to me is El Sayed wins on last Tuesday. Wednesday morning is nonstop talk about all the ways El Sayed sucks as a Democratic candidate, coming from MSNBC and CNN. Then you turn on CNN today, and it's Francesca Hong won. David Crowley lost. Man, those socialists played hard. Anyway, let's list all the ways Tom Tiffany sucks. And it has all the things that are going against him. So there was no anti-Mike Rogers talk in the immediate aftermath of the Michigan primary. And you can fill in the blanks here. The same thing happened to Plattner on the side. Hell, the same thing happened to Mamdani, to the point where Cuomo, who lost in the primary, got back into the primary as an independent, and the establishment backed him. So it's like I always say, it's as much what they say as much as they don't say. And in terms of national media, they are not shit-talking Hong. They are not gloating. They are not being assholes about it. But what they are doing is moving on and just being like, all right, time to target Tom Tiffany now, which is the right attitude. But in Michigan, it's not, all right, time to target Mike Rogers now. It's no, it's can El Sayed convince moderates to vote for him? That's the kind of shit that sticks out to me. Raul says, morning all. I'm not surprised Crowley's going to be a problem, in my opinion. Dude dropped out and someone convinced him to get back in the race. He was coerced. He seems bought out to me. Could be. Ben needs a Bloody Mary, ABD, a bowl. And a bowl. Got it. This boomer is sorely disappointed. I honestly am beyond pissed at Evers, the DNC, and state Dems. Well, there's some frustration there for sure. I get that. The same 3 raccoons in a trench coat. Yeah, I feel that. Pick a different animal though, Lorelai, because there's a stigma with raccoons. But you're not wrong, nevertheless. I feel like Wisconsin was in some type of weird test kitchen experiment with how Crowley was brought back into the race. It's more on millions of people falling for it. You know what I mean? Or hundreds of thousands, not millions. Hundreds of thousands of people falling for it. It's what happens with limited options and like when the sports attitude is applied to politics. I mean, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Kamala Harris was polling at 1%. But when your choice is Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, all of a sudden she gets 43%. The same thing happened with Crowley. Again, I maintain the most mad person today should be Kelda, because why didn't Evers endorse her? That should be the most frustrated person. Wait, the reason we have MAGA 2.0 and progressives gaining little ground is because the right is better at being sore losers. Well, also, I think what's important to highlight there, CKK, is the Republican Party tried their damnedest, if you remember, for 3 years to present anybody as a viable option for president other than Donald Trump. They acted like DeSantis was the heir apparent. They acted like Nikki Haley was the heir apparent. They quite literally were willing to take anyone other than Trump. The difference between the GOP and liberals, and I think there's a reason for this, is that the Republican voters said, no, we don't want to go back to old school Republicanism. We're Trump now. We do MAGA, and we only do MAGA, and we're just going to scream nonsensical bullshit, and you have to pretend like what we're saying is serious. And when they stand up with a voice and say that, they give them what they wanted. Liberals will fight tooth and nail the entire way to stop a progressive candidate, and even when the progressive candidate wins, it is very much an uphill battle to bring people on board. And I believe that that's because whether your president is Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Kamala Harris, you're getting a war in Iran. You're getting billionaire greed. You're getting an economic system that is not holding wealthy people to account. There is one faction of politics that actually means business, and there is an entire media apparatus convincing people that those people do not mean business. It's a matter of speaking out against that. And it's going to take independent media in order to be able to do it. It's going to take getting the word out there more. It's why I'm investing in a more professional looking studio, so that more people, when they see this, are like, oh, this is a voice that I should be listening to. Because that's all CNN is a fancy looking studio. It's no different than what you and I are doing right now. They're doing the same shit. The establishment is against the left. They welcome moving more to the right. I agree. They'll be in trouble if they make no overtures to the people supporting Hong. I agree. And they're going out campaigning like they announced before the results started being tabulated. No matter who wins, everybody's going to like some brunch or some shit. I don't remember. I didn't read the whole tweet. But there was 280 characters. I got like 17 characters in. I was like, I get the gist. But they're all going out and campaigning together. Now, Hong showing up and smiling, I think, does something, but it's going to take more than that. It's going to take an effort to court these individuals. And I think there needs to be a concerted interest in winning those voters over. We shall see, of course. Bear with me here. I'm trying to bring the oh God, dude. Why are you just droning like that? All right, let's see here. We'll go through the iPad. It's always easier anyway, isn't it? Is Crowley pro voucher school? That can't be right. There's no way that Evers backs somebody that's pro voucher. If he did, that would be embarrassing. Progressives, we will continue to ignore and alienate you. Why won't you show up and vote? Well, we'll see, Lorelai. Emily Cephos is coming on the show in about 10 minutes, and we're going to talk a little bit about that attitude, and we'll see. Because there's an opportunity right now. It's the basic concept of better late than never, right? Like, I can be mad. It's like MAGA still talking about Hillary Clinton calling them a basket of deplorables 10 years ago. Donald Trump calls Democrats and leftists a new name every single day. And when you call them out on it, MAGA inevitably will say, well, remember when Hillary said basket of deplorables? And then you bring a new example. Remember when she said basket of deplorables? And around and around and around we go, right? It's the same principle. I'm always going to be pissed off about Bernie Sanders. I'm always going to be pissed off about it. And it's always going to be in the back of my mind when dealing with centrists. But if I don't allow for an olive branch to be extended, then all I'm going to do is continue to be pissed off about an election from 10 years ago that would have put MAGA to bed. And it's very nice to know that progressives were right then. So he does support voucher schools. Fucking A, Democrats. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? I'm sure you're going to get a lot of Republicans vote for that, David. Fucking Democrats, man. Mainly because Milwaukee schools are bad. Can you ask him why he supports vouchers when you interview him? I will, but it's probably going to be what Canary just said. My girlfriend's mom thinks Dems will enact some change. That's the exact demographic they're going for, is your girlfriend's mom. My boomer mom just messaged me that Crowley is worse than a Reagan Republican. Oh, boy. I hope not. I surely do hope not. So then invest in the schools instead of spending the money for rich kids to go to private schools. I would agree with that, Aaron. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be an uphill battle, and this is what it always comes down to. And like, if it really does play out like the presidential politics of 2016 and 2020, where now that the left wing has been eliminated from contention, we're going to see how far to the right we can go. That'll be an interesting way. You're not going to vote blue no matter who your way out of this without concessions. I was expecting there to be some kind of bridging of divides. If you're not going to come across, there's going to be some issues. Fuck us, I guess. Yeah, isn't that the truth? HR Huff and Stuff says, sorry, just bumbling in. Speaking of Bernie, the DSA has them acting the same way. Acting like what? And by the way, a lot of people are blaming Bernie and AOC for this outcome because they refused to endorse, which is kind of strange. Time for a third party, says Larry. I agree with that. Waka Waka. Working American Class Association. Milwaukee schools shouldn't be used in order to let Appleton tax. No, I agree. I told all my friends my two sticking points were data centers and voucher schools. Well, he's going to have to come across then. I feel like, Mickey, you're accidentally asking to join, but my experience with you is you don't want to actually join. So I'm not going to accept it. You let me know if I'm wrong. Zero public funds should be going to private schools. Concurred. Petite bourgeoisie doing petite bourgeoisie shit, thinking they were part of the ultra rich that would be taxed. Wasn't that the truth? Lala Fox says, even though we lost, I think it showed what we are capable of, getting a grassroots candidate into office on our own. She didn't have an AOC or Bernie endorsement like Abdul or Mamdani. Exactly, Lala. She had a grassroots movement. She didn't have money. She didn't have endorsements. She didn't have big names. It was just excitement surrounding ideas and what's possible. And it really is true. I have said since the inception of my media career, my job is not to change minds in an instant. How I perceive what I do for a living is I float the way I think out there. I provide both historical and statistical data, as well as empirical for that matter, as to how I arrived at that point. And then my goal is for people to be like, you know, I never thought about it that way. And 5 days later, be in the shower and be like, I think, you know what? I think actually makes sense now that I think about it. All right, Mickey, you asked to connect again, so I'm going to give you a shot here. What's on your mind?
On purpose.
Oh, you didn't do it on purpose? Okay, all good. I kind of figured as much. No worries. I'm going to boot you out there. But that's the way it's supposed to work. And in a lot of ways, I believe that's what this whole campaign represented. And we're expecting Emily any moment now to join the StreamYard chat here. She'll be available on the Book of Faces and the Tube of You, which you all should be subscribing to, mind you. I'd love, we need to get a couple more subscribers here in order to get into monetization range. So please do subscribe. If you are new here, we do live talk radio 9 to 11. Focusing on Wisconsin and all over this nation and realistically this world. I will say, professionally, I will be able to do a better job talking to you guys about this governor's race without Hong in it, because I was compromised. I'm a hoe for Hong. It says it right there on my shirt. Now I can actually hammer these guys in true outside the box fashion. But believe you me, I'd rather be in a position to come off as a fanboy for somebody that I actually believe in rather than to be hammering two milquetoast do-nothings into oblivion. So I'm not saying that that's good. I'm saying you will get completely unbridled coverage of what's taking place in the governor's race because of the two candidates now on this show, which will be good. I see Emily popping on backstage here, so we're going to bring her on again. This is going to be available on the Tube of You and the Book of Faces. TikTok, you're more than welcome to listen along, or you can jump on board with the other streaming services that we're rocking here. Bear with me here, Emily, as I get ready here. You're coming up now. Hello, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I am tired. I am here. How are you?
Yeah, about the same. I was at a watch party at Fox River House till far too late yesterday. So we're getting through though. You know how
I was gonna say, I think I was in bed before you, but
yeah. All right. It's all right. We got there. We got here though, nevertheless. I appreciate you coming on. I sent you a message like an hour ago. I was like, yo, I saw your post. If you've got a minute, I'd love to bring you on here. We've been basically just kind of working through our emotions. This show has been very little news today. It's just all the stuff we all know that happened and kind of working through some emotions here. So let's start with emotions and then we'll get into the future here. How you feeling?
I'm disappointed. I voted for Fran yesterday, and I'm disappointed in how it played out and the end result. I'm excited about Rick Crossan, frankly, in the 8th CD. So there's like some bright spots too, but definitely feeling just the tension, I think, that exists between those of us with more progressive values and vision, which sucks. 'Cause like I said, like I feel like I straddle two different worlds, and so I see it, from both sides. But yeah.
So I talk about this kind of stuff all the time. Like we're fresh off the heels of the uncommitted movement in 2024. People frustrated with not necessarily feeling heard. And I can tell you right now, here's a little free insight for your own election and what's going on there as well. A lot of people mad in the chat about vouchers and mad about data centers in the state of Wisconsin here. You said in your post, you were like, well, there's no timeline for this, but I don't know that there's an amount of time that would make people okay with, a lack of reform for how data centers are working, with someone advocating for public dollars going to private schools when that's realistically, I've lived here 4 years. That's been the major arguments around these schools right now. Do you believe, I don't know if you've spoken to David Crowley or if this is just more of a gut shot question here, but do you believe there's going to be an effort to reach out to people that voted for Hong, like yourself, myself, so many of the people in the chat here? Because it really feels like, much like in 2024, progressives said, here's what we need to see or we're not showing up. They didn't see it and they didn't show up. And we run afoul of that if we don't see that kind of movement statewide.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know David Crowley personally, so I have not received any phone calls.
Yeah.
But I would say that they better be listening, right? They better be reaching out, because we saw a very, the Dems that voted in the Dem primary were about neck and neck for the two candidates that offered, in some respects, a very different kind of vision as far as legislation is concerned when it comes to things like vouchers and data centers. And so I'm hopeful that in the weeks ahead, that is at the forefront, and he is considering what the people are saying that they want and what Wisconsin needs. I think that for me, at the same time, right, walking and chewing gum, though, it's really important to understand that we need somebody at the table. And no politician is perfect. I hate the two-party system. As a county party chair, I say that with my full chest. But I really need us to also understand and hold in our hands that Tom Tiffany means that nobody's coming to the table to talk to us about anything. That's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, I get it. Push from within the system if you can find that within yourself, because we have the other option. If you sit it out in the state of Wisconsin with the statewide being on a knife's edge every single time, it's a vote for what Tom Tiffany is going to bring to Wisconsin. And as we see the federal government becoming more erratic and dangerous, that man is going to let every single thing come through and we're not going to have the firewall that we need to hold back what's happening there too. So yeah, long-winded way of saying that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense what you're saying. And again, I have a feeling there's a lot of people that would tell me that sounds familiar. It sounds like a hold your nose and vote. It sounds like a lesser of two evils narrative again, that definitely the day after is going to feel fresh. And I like,
Sure.
I'm holding out hope. And we lost, obviously, I didn't have internet phone connection for a week and a half in the aftermath of the disasters. I too have not spoken to David Crowley, and I'm embarrassed to not have had him on for the primary there. But nevertheless, it really feels like like just as you and I are talking right now, Crowley is going to sell Wisconsin out better than Tom Tiffany, but Crowley's going to be a problem. If you're willing to smile and bow gracefully when you lose, you weren't willing to put in what's willing to work. The list goes on. They'll reach out all right for money and door knocking. There's a lot of sentiment out there right now. And so I guess what's the next steps? What in your mind right now is the grieving process. Right now is the trying to process exactly what took place. And I mean, I keep trying to hammer home the point. I don't feel like I did after 2020 or 2016. I felt like it was a well-run campaign on both sides, and it was ideas competing against one another, and the ideas I disagree with won. And that's how I'm perceiving this right now. But it's a matter of the population writ large, and I don't know if they're there, at least yet.
No, and I certainly don't want to rush anybody, because like I think that what was different about what Fran created was that it is a movement, and people that did not see themselves politically heard at all felt like they found a home there. And so that grief is real. I also know Fran, and she's been organizing both inside and outside of the system for a long time. Like I think that the vision and the rhetoric and the policy that she was championing are bold. And what that does is it increases public awareness of what that would actually mean for the state of Wisconsin. That is a win in and of itself. And I know it's not enough. Like, and I am 100% in agreement that is not enough, but we have to allow Wisconsinites an opportunity to dream bigger, to dream differently, so that we can begin to get people to wrap their heads around. And I think, like, for me, I'm on doors all the time talking to people. Public opinion and and how people consume the news and what they're using as the boogeyman of the moment on the right, we have to combat that, right? So that we don't make something that is not radical, like universal health care or paid family leave or choose any other thing that Fran was running on. We have to go out and we have to talk to them. I get that the party system, again, sucks. And I understand the holding your nose and voting for the lesser of two evils sentiment. What we can't do, though, is forget that we need someone at the table that we can push. That's why I'm still involved in party politics, is because there is certainly a movement and a reason and a worthiness in doing that outside of the box, kind of, there you go. Kind of organizing, right? And like being a part of those movement politics. But there's also those of us that are on the inside, and Fran is a lawmaker. Like, she's working on the inside as well to get that legislation, to get that policy. And she's offering bold language and bold vision, and all of that plays a role. So you can work from both within and outside to further the cause. But what we can't forget is who's going to be at risk if we just say, I'm done, I'm tuning out. Like, I don't want to do that anymore, because he's going to bring so much danger in the, economically, socially, like the actual physical, your physical safety for a lot of community members. And so we really need to take the time. Please take the time and don't feel that way, but understand that it's always been on us. Fran gets that. It's always going to be on us. And I hope that in the weeks ahead, we're able to freaking find your place. And whether that's movement or electoral politics, just don't give up. Because if we do, we might as well freaking curl up in the fetal position and call it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel that. You did kind of lead me into another question I wanted to ask you, though, because I've been following along with your campaign quite a bit. I love that you're kind of documenting it as you go. And it's been a bit of you're experiencing a roller coaster, and you're allowing us to kind of come along on that ride with you at the same time. Mm-hmm. You're campaigning in a place where it's not necessarily about finding that, okay, I thought we lost you, where you're not necessarily trying to find that leftist vote. You're trying to convince, in a predominantly Republican area, right-wingers to kind of see things through a different lens there. And you're doing it in a similarly grassroots approach. Depending on the day, I feel like I would get a different answer from you. But how do you feel today, right now, about that approach and the response that you're getting in terms of, because we're going to see that obviously on the national side, right? On the statewide side, there's going to be the conversation about reaching out to conservatives versus making sure that the left, who feels spurned right now, is willing to jump on board. And I guess, what's your experience been reaching out to the right for the last several months?
I mean, I don't know if I'll find any like friends in my response, but I like it when you connect on issues and you get past this shiny thing, the boogeyman of the moment, what you know is going to stir up outrage or fear. There's a lot of people that are just like, I don't pay attention to the news. I've always been a Republican. That's how I vote, kind of thing. And so like, I think that also gives me a different kind of perspective, because I'm looking at people that are on the left that are like, you're not left enough, or you're not you're not saying the things that I need you to say in the right way, kind of thing. And I think with any political party, with any political system, we are not going to agree all the time. I think what was great about this gubernatorial primary is that it is supposed to be like the big tent, and I'm using air quotes in case you can't see me, but that means that there's discourse happening. There's different ways to get there. The end goal is the same. And so I think that what I'm trying to convince people, whether they are on the left in this moment or Republicans when I'm on doors in the middle of nowhere, if you agree with me like 85% of the time, like that's progress, guys. Like that's something that we should be like holding on to, because to require absolute like allegiance is not healthy for any of us. And like, and I want to say that with a caveat that I also understand there's like an urgency to things like data centers, and there's an urgency to things like the human dignity of our community members. So there are things that I will not yield on, but there are others where it's like, we have to start freaking like talking and understanding that we're not going to be flipping from 100% Republican to 100% Democrat. But if I can get you part of the way, that's a win. Like that's progress.
Yeah, absolutely. The stat coming from Pittsburgh, the stat I read that blew my mind is George Washington was responsible for less people than the mayor of Pittsburgh. So getting everybody on board with one set of political ideology in this day and age is going to be really difficult. So I get where you're.
Yeah, especially in a two-party system. Like it's stupid that we expect tens of millions of Americans to be like, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. Like that's not where we live.
Yeah, no, exactly. Emily, I think you got a message of hope that I think people need to get behind right now, and I would be embracing it more, but I'm hanging on by a thread after last night.
You take your time. Everybody take your time, but I'll be here whenever you come around, or if you do.
Absolutely, and we'll do a more campaign oriented one next time. But thanks for hopping on, and we'll chat again soon.
All right, bye.
All right, bye. Emily Cephos, always welcome on this program here. Let's see some of the comments we were getting there. Raul, always follow the money. I mean, always, yes. The political spectrum is a horseshoe, not a line. The far left and the far right are closer to each other than the middle. I agree, Stevie, but I also think that a lot of times people try to say that as an insult, and I take that as a compliment and something to strive for. And I assume you are as well. But that's at least my attitude towards it. It means that they are winnable. You just got to find the right words to say these kind of things. CKK says, I will vote for Crowley because we will support him as a union and because he's a son of an IBEW brother, but individual me will spit venom about his policies. I feel that. Lorelei says, no progressives that I know will sit out in November, but will be pissed when we go. Probably. Does the Democratic Party necessarily deserve our vote for undermining what the people clearly wanted in Hong? Then Crowley wins and needs to be primaried as a sitting governor. I mean, that might happen. I have a feeling that'll happen, honestly, if he doesn't change his tune. Again, now we're looking light years into the future politically, but that absolutely could happen. I don't think anybody's just going to jump on board with this on a whim. I think there have to be concessions. There has to be an effort. And it can't be going to the right. I mean, it can, but it shouldn't, because it's not going to work. It never fucking works. There's no other choices. We just refuse to vote for them. If we don't vote, we get politicians like Trump. Yeah. No, what got us Trump was DNC disenfranchising an entire voting bloc. Yeah. But like Robin, I see you saying too many refused to vote, which is for who was given, and that's why Trump won. But that's the frustrating part about it is that's what I brought up with Emily right there. The entire uncommitted movement said, these are the things that I am upset about. This is what I want to see happen, and I will show up and vote for Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris said, fuck you. Here's Liz Cheney. Now Republicans are going to vote for us, and we don't need you. The fact is, in 2016 and in 2024, Democrats behaved like they did not need the left, and they would win some kind of mythical centrist to center right voter that always votes Republican but is just looking for a reason to vote Democrat. In 2020, they said, let's run on progressive policies after we fucked over the progressive candidate. One of those two strategies worked once. The other strategy failed twice. And I would hate to see this governor make that same mistake because historical data shows otherwise. By the way, Justin, I'm loving your moxie in the chat, by the way. I'm not trying to do a fake plucky attitude here. This is genuinely how I feel about matters. Just Fran reminded me of Leslie Knope. I feel that. Seems to me the centrist Dems are closer to MAGA. It's Biden's fault that we have Trump 2.0 and not giving us a DNC. I would argue, Raul, that centrist Dems today are basically just Reagan-era Republicans. I think there is a bit more overlap than people realize, but what they won't acknowledge is that any center-right Republicans that are disgusted by Trump are already voting for Democrats. There's no amount of Liz Cheney pandering or immigration pandering or anything like that that's going to bring people on board, at least in my opinion. And I think they know that too, but they present it through the media and through their speeches as if like, oh, well, we're going to try it and see if it works. You tried it multiple times and it doesn't seem like it's going to work. Joey says Crowley did win democratically. As unfortunate as it is what 3,000 more people wanted somehow. That's kind of my whole point there, is that like, I don't feel like in 2020, if a week and a half ago, Sarah Rodriguez drops out, or, however long ago, 3 weeks ago, Sarah Rodriguez drops out, Crowley jumps in, Governor Evers endorses him, and Kelda and Brennan and Mandela Barnes, Kelda rather, and Brennan and Mandela Barnes all drop out and all endorse David Crowley, I'd be like, what the fuck? And then David Crowley wins by 3,000 votes. This would be a breathe fire kind of show. But that's not what happened. Like, it realistically was, outside of Governor Evers saying, I'm not going to endorse anybody, and then immediately endorsing in order to give Crowley a bump to be able to compete against Hong, which again is just politics. That's not nearly as shady as what the DNC did in 2016 or what the entire establishment did in 2020 in the presidential election. It's just politics. It's harder to be livid. It's easy to be disappointed. It's easy to be frustrated with people that, in my opinion, voted against their own self-interest. But I don't feel that same vitriol that I did after 2020 or 2016. Yeah, Larry says, did I mention we need a third party? Yeah. I agree. But I mean, then, see, I have a theory, Larry. Bookmark this. I have a theory that a progressive candidate is going to come out on the top of the ticket for the president in 2028. Whether it's AOC, maybe it's Sean Fain from the UAW, but like a progressive with lefty ideas is going to come out of the Democratic primary in 2028. And I also believe that John Fetterman will then run as an independent. I believe that the Democratic establishment already has a game plan in place for if a progressive comes out on the top of the ticket nationally. It's going to be running a level-headed centrist against them. And so you'll have the MAGA Republican, the level-headed centrist, and then whoever the progressive is. And the progressive and the level-headed centrist will cannibalize one another, and the MAGA candidate will end up coming out on top. We either need 4 parties or we just need to fix the Democratic Party, because as long as the whole right wing is voting in one, which I am a believer, we are 4 parties dressed up as a 2-party system. We're MAGA, we're Reagan-era Republicans, we're Reagan-era Democrats, and we're progressives. And those are the 4 choices that you can go between. But I do think we need a new party, but it's going to be a matter of common sense reigning supreme up until then. And unfortunately, it seems as though we are dramatically ill-equipped to be able to do so. Just remembered I left my car at the bar yesterday. I don't have a car right now. That's frustrating. That's frustrating. Okay. I was looking forward. In case you guys were wondering, while I was talking to you, my inner monologue was like, what do you want to eat after this? I'm like, I don't know, man. Are we that hungry right now? It's like, we don't even have a car. So now we have to get delivery or you have to go get your car. And I'm parked in front of a parking meter. Here comes another $8 ticket. Gonna go broke on these $8 tickets. They're adorable. Fran for president 2028. I don't know if we're there yet, but I hope so. I still say the Evers endorsement highlights how bad of a candidate that Barnes was. Yeah, it's probably accurate. The problem is systemic. People are propagandized and groomed to idolize the rich and powerful. Well, isn't that the truth? Don't know what we do about it, though. Let's see what's going on in the Book of Faces. A bunch of people started chiming in again. The establishment better step up to earn everyone's vote, not just the vote blue, no matter who. Lazy bullshit. I agree with that. So many variables to consider. We may never know. The results suck, and we keep the momentum going beyond this election. I mean, that's where I'm at with it. They did push Mandela Barnes out for sleeping with adult women too, isn't? Yeah. Well, that's true. Is last night proof that the Wisconsin Dems are more or less racist? Asked Alan. I don't know, man. It's honestly a really good question. It goes to show you that candidate identity isn't as relevant as policy. I know Alan, who was on the show 2 weeks ago. He was questioning whether or not Hong was going to reach out to the black community in Madison and Milwaukee, but he came out and endorsed yesterday, saying she's the only one that showed up to the protests. Yeah, I'll call a Lyft. I appreciate it, Jarman. You don't need to come and get me. I'll figure it out. Yeah, I would never drive. That's a lie. I would totally drive, but I'm glad I didn't either. I was parked right across the street from a police station, so I know better. They see me rolling. In the late 20s teens, my right-wing militia cohorts recognized the existence of 4 to 5 distinct voting blocks. Agreed. Susan out in California says, I know many of you liked Hong. Sorry for the loss. I appreciate that. No, Justin, no need to apologize. I wasn't being insincere. I appreciate the attitude. And I don't want you to think that I'm like kowtowing to Dems or anything like that. I'm running this through my always outside the box process. It's hard for me to be mad at the process that led to the outcome. I am upset with the outcome, but it doesn't feel the same as a lot of the times. It doesn't feel like the Democratic establishment keeping Joe Biden in the race to thwart a primary just so they can force Kamala Harris on us again. It doesn't feel like that. It just feels like there is a certain element of this state still that is kind of clinging to an old way of politicking while bitching about that old way of politicking, but while clinging to that old way of politicking, and that needs to, find a way, one way or another, in order to wake up to that. How confident are we that Crowley can beat Tiffany? Well, if you didn't see it, Deborah, Kalshi has the odds that Crowley wins now. It's 78 to 19%, which I don't know where did the other 3% go? I have no idea. I don't know how that shit works. Berg says Dems don't elect women. Obama over Hillary, Biden over multiple women, Crowley over Hong. Well, I mean, that's not apples to apples, but that's an interesting sentiment, because I'm a firm believer, and I've said it 1,000 times on this show, it's not that Hillary and Kamala were women, it's that Hillary and Kamala were centrist, which is why they lost. And Biden won because, and I said this as much last night, he was not nearly progressive enough, but Joe Biden is also the most progressive president of my lifetime. And that's why he won the race, is when they beat Bernie, when they screwed Bernie over, Biden came out and said, I'm going to forgive student loans. I'm going to do this for the immigrant population. I'm going to do all of these progressive things that you guys tell me you want. When the defund the police movement and the frustration with George Floyd bubbled over, there really wasn't an effort to tamp down on it. They let people say their piece. And right-wingers bitched, but guess what? Even if you tamp down the protests, right-wingers weren't going to fucking vote for you anyway. So they let them say their piece. They let them get their beliefs out there. You know what? A shit ton of people showed up. Again, 7 million people between age 18 and 29 showed up for Biden and not for Harris. I'm not saying that any generation is immune to sexism or racism, but I am saying that those factors tend to slow down the younger you go. So the idea that 7 million young people chose not to show up for Harris doesn't say to me racism and sexism. It says something very different. Now, the Crowley situation is different. That's a centrist being a progressive, but that is also not on the national level. That is on the state level. I do believe there is a progressive element to this state. I still do. But it's an interesting sentiment, nevertheless. When did I say Carlson had brains? We need people willing to call out the corruption in Israel. Well, you got one right here. I can promise you that. Oh, don't vote for Carlson. He's Donald Trump with brains. Okay, now I'm up to date now. Sexism is real, and I'm sure some assholes think that way, but 3,000 people, no. I agree. Yeah, no, I'm caught up now. We're good. Matt says, here, I thought I'd have my first ever vote for a D or R with Fran. I guess I'm back to voting for my Libertarian Party candidate. I get it. I get it. Violet, I see you doing work on the TikTok chat. I agree with everything you're saying. I can't go back and read all of it, though. The last thing she said was the politicians aren't serving the people, and we shouldn't be okay with that. And I agree. I think that's what Fran's whole movement was based on. Eventually, Violet, you're going to have to break the seal and come on this show. Violet listens from Georgia, and I'm interested in your sentiments on Ossoff. I'm very interested in Ossoff, and you haven't talked about him a lot, which gives me concern, because I value your political opinion. So we're going to have a real talk about him someday. But this was a bad beat. He's hot. Okay, you've lost all credibility. I teed you up. Swing and a miss. It's the end of it. It's the end of it. You're banned. This is a bad beat. I wish this had been a more excited show. And again, the vibe of this show, anybody who binges outside the box going from yesterday's show to tomorrow's or to today's show, it's going to be very funny because I was so fucking confident. Like all the DSA people, that watch party, if you couldn't pick up on it yesterday, the watch party that I was at was a DSA watch party. And everybody there had cautious nerves, and I was just cocky as shit. I was just talking shit the entire night. Like at any point, I was like, yeah, I'm not even worried about this. You guys are panicking. Like, this is crazy. Like one of these times, there's just going to be one of those massive drops, and it's just going to be Fran up by 10,000, and we're not looking back. And I didn't see this day coming at all. Yeah, I was jealous of Gamer. Minnesota got their progressive. Everybody gets a progressive but us. They can't stop the momentum. I don't want anybody to feel so disappointed. Be deflated now, absolutely. And then be ready to take your shit back. We're going to get back at this. He's a slutty Atticus Finch. Ben was drinking cornbread last night. What's that mean? Feels racist. I don't know what it means. All the libertarians I know vote red because they know the party has no viable standing. Interesting. I feel like Fran should have run more TV ads. Being the only anti-data center candidate would have worked great for that. Well, that's a major thing. I think a lot of, especially young people, do not put stock in TV ads anymore because so few of us actually have cable. But the fact is, they do work. They either work or it's money laundering. Probably both. But there's a lot of people that see that shit, and you're right. But doing that shit takes money. And if you're going to be the no corporate money candidate, either people need to chip in or you got to get creative about getting your message out there. Oh, the THC drink I was drinking was called cornbread. I didn't even notice. I just picked it because it was blue. It was blueberry. God, I was fucked up. Oh boy, but we made it. We made it. This sucks, but we persist, you know? I don't think this show's gonna in one day convince people that everything's gonna be all right. I understand that. But this is the time when you hold people to account. Yes, I was having fun last night. Yeah, we got Rick crossing across the finish line. I think Rick's going to be a good candidate. Minnesota got Peggy Flanagan. Good for you guys in Minnesota. We got plenty of other. I still don't know. Does anybody seen? Has District 6 been called yet? It was like a 700 vote difference last I checked. Wisconsin District 6. All right. I'm losing it. All right. There we go. Brad Smith is up 36,408 to 35,928. What is that? That's not even 500 votes, and there's still 1% and 800 votes remaining. Okay, so they still haven't called it, but it seems pretty promising for Brad Smith at this point. Inside Politics just opened with Hong Crowley. Makes sense. I'm telling you, centrist media is going to piss you off today. I would probably say refrain from watching any mainstream media. Not that most of you do. That's mostly for myself. I'm saying, Ben, turn the shit off today because you know they're going to give you an ulcer. But I'm probably not going to, and I'm probably going to show up tomorrow with a bunch of clips of mainstream media being bastards about this race today while pretending that the Michigan race was somehow also an indictment on progressives because that's the games they play. Mikey says, I'm not excited about all the ads I'm going to deliver. Yeah, that's real. I think the major difference is how libertarians and progressives vote is the idea of individualism versus collectivism. Even groups of libertarians are small. Many of the basic principles align. I'll take you a step further, CKK. I describe myself as a progressive libertarian. I am a libertarian in all social aspects of life. Put whatever you want in your body, be whoever you want to be, love whoever you want to love, all that kind of stuff. As long as you're not hurting anybody, you should be able to literally do whatever you want. And I even take that over to like stupid shit, like injecting yourself with steroids and stuff like that. But I'm very much fiscally progressive. I think America is at its strongest with progressive principles, and we need to get back to that level of the way things worked. But all right. I think we're going to call it there. We'll be back tomorrow, more uplifted and more well rested than ever. And we're going to keep this rolling. It doesn't end here. And honestly, like in a lot of ways, again, professionally, not going to offer much sight. And realistically, if we're talking about what would have been better for me professionally, it would have been talking about Francesca Hong on a regular basis. And it's a shame that I can't do that anymore. But I do think it's going to bring a more objective bent back to outside the box because I was fanboying the last week and a half. I could hear it in my voice while I was doing it, but I genuinely was excited, as I know a lot of you guys were as well. But now we can do real outside the box shit again, and that's also exciting too. We're not giving this shit up without a fight. I will be mad at them not being graceful winners, even though I would absolutely not have been. We'll see. If he gives her a job, that'll probably help. And maybe if that job has something to do with data centers, that will probably help. But I also believe his endorsement from unions is contingent on making sure that these data centers get built. I mean, I'll be honest. I'll never be able to prove it, but I'm pretty sure data centers are why I am now independent media. Grab a bloody and a burger when you pick your car up. It'll set you straight. All you pro-democracy patriots, stay safe. Thank you, Raul. We're going to kill it. Tomorrow we can talk about the real news. People who are pooping in the showers at the Country Music Festival in Oshkosh. Yeah, there we go. Got to go shower and retrieve his car. You can't tell me what to do. It ain't easy being a hoe. Get out of here, Violet. I could have said something disrespectful, but I didn't because I'm growing as a person. All right. On that note, I'm going to kick you guys out of here, YouTube and Facebook. Y'all lovely. We'll talk soon.